I think it was yesterday, at as they paid tribute to the Capitol Hill police officers who dealt with the January 6th riot. And that's fine. You know, I can't help. I'm glad that they're paying tribute to the cops who fought the mob. I am. But to me, it's so hard to cheer this on because the people doing the honoring, the people pushing this, those Democrats, they hate cops. Who are they kidding? They couldn't have cared less when those cops took batons in the face and got shot dead during the Black Lives Matter protests. Only because it was a political issue do they now feel the need to pretend that they're celebratory of law enforcement. So there's like a little bit of it sticks in my craw because I know it's not sincere on their part.
Well, of course not. I'm a student of the Russian Revolution and Marxism and the early days of the Bolsheviks. This is why I do have a fiance, but I don't have much of a social life. So I read about these things for fun on a regular basis. And I just bring it up because the extremism, the everything for the revolution, nothing outside the revolution mindset is different here in America. But for a lot of people on the left, it's absolutely present. There is no principle. There's no matter of honor or integrity that is not secondary to what is best for the Democrat Party in the moment. The truth is, as we all know, the fact is that Officer Sicknick died of a stroke days after an event that was, yes, a riot, but absent blunt force trauma, which is what they told us he died of originally. Remember that? It was the fire extinguisher, which was a horrific story, and people initially reacted to it with the outrage that it deserves. That was a lie, a total lie. I've been to a lot of, obviously covering them, not partaking in them, Black Lives Matter protests, Antifa riots. I've seen what they do, and I can assure everyone watching that if a police officer died of a heart attack or a stroke a week later, nobody would say that BLM had murdered that person, right? Now, there was a lot of violence against cops in the summer of 2020, outright violence. I like to remind everybody, because I think they should be reminded, that it was a tactic of Antifa, particularly in Portland, to try to blind police officers with lasers. And I've said this before, if somebody was actively trying to blind me to take away my sight, I would feel justified using extreme levels of force in opposition to that. So what happened at the Capitol, there's a few layers to it. I think one, you see that there are people who buy into the narrative that all Republicans are guilty of the insurrection, even though 99% of Republicans that I know immediately said, not only is this wrong, it's a blunder. Not only was this something you shouldn't do, the riot, but it was stupid for the cause. But beyond that, there is no principle, Megyn, because violence against police is not something that the Democrat Party spends any time thinking about or worried about, unless it is January 6th. And we've all seen that. And I think that family members acting as props for the Democrat agenda, it's sad. It's their right.
Wait, let's talk about that.
We are.
Let me interrupt because we haven't gotten to that. The audience may not know what we're talking about. And that is the family of Brian Sicknick, the officer you referenced, who did not die during the Capitol Hill riot, but a day or two thereafter. And he had a stroke, and they determined it was natural causes, but there may have been a contributing factor with some pepper spray that he inhaled the day of the riot. His family shows up. We're showing video for the listening audience right now. His family refused to shake the hand of Mitch McConnell. I mean, here Mitch McConnell's got his hand out, ready to shake their hands, and of Kevin McCarthy, the Republican leaders in the Senate and the House, respectively. And they just refused to shake their hands. And it was just they shook Nancy Pelosi's hand and Chuck Schumer's hand. It was just such a low moment. It was just such a low moment for them not to shake the hands. These lawmakers got out there, were ready to greet the families, pay tribute to Brian Sicknick and the other cops, and they refused to so much as deign for a handshake. And then one of the family members, the brother of Officer Sicknick, went on CBS News and explained, he was just speaking to him, but in any event, he explained why they did that. Listen here.
They came out right away and condemned what happened on January 6th. And whatever hold that Trump has on them, they've backstepped, they've danced. They won't admit to wrongdoing, not necessarily them themselves, but of Trump, of the rioters. It takes away everything my brother's done. It takes away the heroism my brother showed.
You don't think they deserved a handshake in this context?
No, definitely not. No, because unlike Liz Cheney, they have no idea what integrity is. They can't stand up for what's right and wrong. With them, it's party first.
I mean, these are not guys who have failed to condemn January 6th. They didn't vote for Trump's impeachment, right? But he's not talking about, sort of the hardcore Trump supporters. He's talking Mitch McConnell. So that's what you're making reference to, that they're being used.
I mean, I'm sorry that his brother died of a stroke, but his political analysis is delusional. And this is a tactic the Democrats have used for as long as I can remember. You'll probably recall the so-called 9/11 widows. Now, I say so-called because I think there were 4 of them. And as we all know, there were a whole lot more than that who were widowed by the events of 9/11. But they claimed to speak for everybody who was lost on 9/11 in campaign commercials for John Kerry. And they were trying to weaponize their message and their grief, saying essentially 9/11 happened because George Bush is a bad president. And then anytime someone says, well, hold on a second, that's one, that's absurd, and 2, that's entirely unfair. It was, why aren't you listening to the widows? They're speaking to their grief and their truth.
That's right.
And then a lot of other people who lost family members on 9/11 came out and said, well, they don't speak for me. So this is a tactic that the Democrats love to use. By the way, I don't think that failure to shake the hands was something that just happened on the spot. I think that they had planned to do that beforehand. I wouldn't be surprised if they had spoken to some Democrats, either officially or unofficially, who had said, what would be a good idea? But I obviously can't prove that. I'm just saying that wouldn't shock me if it came out that were the case. But whether it's Greta Thunberg, remember, use a 16-year-old that convinced the world what to do with climate change and trillions of dollars of wealth. But if you don't go along with this lunacy, you're child bashing. You're a bad person. Mm-hmm. They do this all the time. It's very tiresome. And in this case, honestly, I think that it just showed that, unfortunately, playing the I'll bend the knee and condemn as often as you want game just plays into the hands of the worst elements of the Democrat Party. I condemn January 6th as it was happening in real time. Anyone who knows anybody in the conservative movement and has any of any integrity or respect knows that it was a bad idea. It was terrible, and they condemned it. Where are the condemnations of BLM riots that lasted for months, including in my own neighborhood, that shattered store windows, injured police officers, some seriously? I think there were a couple dozen people who lost their lives in those riots overall when they tabulated it at the end.
Thousands of police officers.
There's been no condemnation.
It's the Christmas and holiday season, and it's time for gift giving, parties with friends and family, and getting compliments everywhere you go, hopefully. Thanks to the fact that you look years younger per Genucel. Genucel's got you, ladies and men. It's not just for the ladies. Millions of Americans love Genucel's products. And from now until Christmas, Genucel's most popular package, all their best stuff, is 70% off at Genucel.com. Treat yourself and a loved one to the absolute best skincare in the world. See those troubling forehead wrinkles, fine lines, skin redness, pesky bags and puffiness, and yes, even a sagging jawline disappear right before your eyes with Genucel's most popular collection. With its immediate effects product, you will see results in less than 12 hours, guaranteed, or your money back. And included in every one of their most popular packages is your free hyaluronic acid serum for skin hydration that will restore your youthful appearance. Go to Genucel.com/MK now. Enter my special promo code MK for an additional 10% off your entire order. Every order today, instantly upgraded to free express shipping, so you'll get it soon. Genucel.com/MK60. That's GENUCEL.com/MK60. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.